Hi guys, good morning and welcome back to another episode of Shomsgarage. So today's video is a highly requested video actually. Many people have DM'd me, asked me in the comments to upload a video on how to tune the carburetor and to actually show where each of the vacuum lines and vacuum actuators are connected in the Mikuni carburetor, which is commonly used in the 1800cc Isuzu engine. So I thought that I'll make a video on that today. It's a pretty straightforward job, but I don't think many people are aware of where each of these are connected. So let's dive right into it. So guys, as you can see, the engine bay is visible in front of you, and just to give you a basic overview on where each of the parts are for a better understanding. So this is the air cleaner that you see right on top, and just below the air cleaner, if you can see, that's where the carburetor is. So this entire unit is the carburetor unit. The other basic parts are that this is the ignition coil, this is the brake booster, that's the power steering fluid reservoir, and for me, this may not be there in all cars, but this is a CNG reducer. So in order to understand where and how the carburetor works, you first need to take off the air cleaner. So that's what we will do now. The air cleaner is actually just simply held on by these two bolts here and there, and this one center bolt. Once you take all three of these off, the air filter just rises up. So let me take this off, and we'll come back to explaining everything about the carb. So as you can see guys, we have removed the air filter housing, and now the carburetor is completely exposed. And now I will briefly tell you about where each of the connections and what each of the connections are. So this is the petrol or fuel inlet hose. This is the fuel return hose. You have to ensure that these are all fitted correctly, because the fuel circulation is always that fuel comes in more than required and it exits, just to keep the carburetor cool. You see a bunch of vacuum actuators in front of you. These are actually essential for the proper functioning of the carburetor. As you can see, this is what is commonly referred to as the idle up actuator. So this is what increases the idle speed once you switch on the air conditioning. This, what you see, is your petrol cutoff solenoid valve. So this actually switches on when you switch on the car, and it actually switches on the flow of petrol into the carburetor. So if there is no power going to this, your car will not start. This actuator that you see right below the petrol intake, this is what is referred to as the actuator for a hot start. What I mean by a hot start is when your car is been running for quite a while and the engine has become hot and you switch it off, what tends to happen is that when you try to start it back on again, that the mixture is too rich and the car has difficulty in starting. So what this does is, you'd see that there is one pipe which is connected to, which you see here, which is connected to the air filter usually. So when the car is hot, this actually lets air directly from the air filter into the primary venturi, and what this helps in doing is making the mixture lean, so that the car has no problem starting only when the car is hot. The third and quite an important actuator is the one that you see here. I don't know if you guys can see it. So this is the actuator I'm talking about. This controls the secondary venturi. So as you know, this Mikuni carburetor has two venturis. As you can see, the secondary one here and the primary one on the right hand side here. So this controls the secondary venturi, which actually gets only activated and opened in high RPMs and in certain load conditions. So only when the primary venturi is opened up fully will the secondary venturi open, as long as the engine is in the right state of vacuum. So this is actually responsible for all your performance in high speeds. So yeah, that's just to give you guys a brief overview of where and what each of the parts are. And now we will go and explain where and how each of these vacuum hoses are connected. So in order to understand where each of these vacuum lines are connected and how essentially a carburetor works, you need to understand these sort of two concepts that we have for in a carbureted engine. So there are essentially two types of vacuum that are available for tuning in a carbureted engine. One that is referred to as ported vacuum, and two which is referred to as manifold vacuum. So essentially the only difference between both of them is where the vacuum is drawn from. For example, a manifold vacuum is anything which is before the throttle blades, so that is towards the air intake side, while a ported vacuum is anything that is below the throttle plate or the butterfly valve. So the first actuator that you can see right here, which I mentioned to you, is called the hot restart actuator. So this is connected from this port. This is again a ported port, but this is done through the primary venturi. So it comes right off here, and there is a one-way check valve, as you can see here, and it's connected directly to the actuator. So from the ported line from here to here through the actuator. The second one that we're going to speak about, the second actuator that we want to speak about is this one that you can see right here. Let me grab something to point it with. So as you can see, this actuator right here, this, as I told you earlier, is responsible for the secondary venturi opening at high speeds. This is again connected to a vacuum line which is drilled into the carburetor here, and it's connected via a single hose pipe here. And this is responsible for increasing the performance when the RPM is quite high in an engine. And this only opens up when the right load conditions and the right vacuum is formed, and also when the fact is that the primary venturi has to be opened at least 80% for the secondary venturi to even open. So guys, as you can see below the carburetor, there are two ports. This one where my screwdriver is pointing to, this goes to the hot idle restart pipe, which is located on the air filter, below the air filter. And the second one that you can see, which I'm pointing to right now, this is connected to a three-way T. One part of the three-way T goes to the vacuum advance located on the distributor, which is this port right here, and the second part of the T goes to this FICD unit. So an FICD unit is essentially what is called a fast idle control device, where there are two pipes, one is an inlet, one is the outlet. This is connected to the T, and when this gets a signal from the compressor to switch on, this transfers this vacuum to this other pipe, which goes to the idle up circuit, as I mentioned to you earlier. And once this gets a vacuum connection through this FICD, this essentially pulls up the linkage so that the idle RPM is increased. The last connection, which is the engine retard, that is the timing retard, which is connected to this port in the distributor, this port. So this, as you can see, is connected to this particular port on the carb. So I hope that's visible to you all. It's a very tricky shot, but as you can see, this pipe is what is connected to the timing retard actuator located on the distributor. So guys, yeah, that's essentially it on how and where each of these vacuum pipes are connected on a Mikuni distributor. So this is quite common for all cars such as the Ambassador. It's also common for cars such as the Contessa, maybe a Zen 800, or even a Maruti Esteem for that matter of fact. And now let me tell you how how we can tune the carburetor to the best efficiency. So as you can see guys, the engine is on. So the way I have connected the gauge now is as follows. So the vacuum pipe which goes to the air cleaner, which is what I have connected to the vacuum gauge as of right now, and the tachometer is connected to the number one spark plug. So that's telling me what the engine is idling at right now, so which is currently around 800 RPM, and the vacuum currently that is being drawn by the engine, which is a very healthy vacuum, which is around 80 kPa is what we are driving, and around 25 inches of mercury, which is a very good reading to have. The way you adjust it is as follows. In case your car is not running right, you increase the idle RPM through this screw which you see behind you. You increase it to about 800, and then you tune the carburetor with the with the tuning screw which is located just below the carburetor, the brass screw which I mentioned to you. I don't know if you guys can see it. Yeah, the brass screw which you see right there. You tune that till you achieve the highest vacuum that is possible in your carburetor. If you can't achieve highest vacuum, you adjust it till the highest RPM is received. Once the RPM is sort of received in the highest manner, then you sort of tune down the RPM once again, just so that you can adjust the carb to run at the correct RPM for the ideal setting, because you don't really want to be running at quite a high speed also. So around 750 to 800 is what is recommended by Hindustan Motors. So mine is currently uh, running at around 800 RPM, as you can see. And so this is a very healthy engine and it has been tuned perfectly. So this is entirely the process of tuning the carburetor. It's not that difficult, but you just need to have the right tools and the know-how on how to tune this properly. So guys, thanks for watching, and then I hope I've been able to explain to you how the carburetor is set up and where each of the lines are connected. In case आपका अगर कोई queries हो, आप ज़रूर मुझे comments में लिख सकते हैं, नहीं तो Instagram में भी DM कर सकते हैं. So thanks for watching guys.